Hi, my name's Bob Greenyer and I'm a volunteer with the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. Okay, so if you were in any doubt that the work of John Hutchinson was related to Tesla, I am going to try and clear that up for you. I'm also going to try and clear it up for you that they are connected because of the research into fusion, i.e. making hydrogen work for us in terms of energy. So this is John Hutchinson, if you don't know what he looks like, and this is one of his classic samples where the material has been disrupted. And I have brought up this article from 1956, this is 12th of December 1956, that was published in the New York Times, and it says, "Physicist creates universe in a test tube." Very bold claim. See? Bold claim. And it says, out of a small glass chamber devised to study means for taming the explosive energy of the hydrogen bomb for peaceful uses has come a new vision of creation. It offers for the first time experimental evidence of the possible origin of the infinite universe of stars and galaxies. And so what they did was had a little electric gun. I've described this on other videos on our channel and linked to papers that were presented by Bostic and also Bostic and Nardi later. This was done in major national labs in the US, and that is the stated reason. So the work was first done at the Livermore Laboratory at the University of California in the course of work on Project Sherwood, a project of the Atomic Energy Commission for converting the energy of the hydrogen bomb into controlled electrical power. The work is being carried out in 3 major centers, including Princeton University and the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory at Los Alamos, New Mexico. The studies recently declassified were outlined yesterday at a meeting of the American Nuclear Society at Washington by Dr. Winston Bostic. Now, because this was declassified at this time, and you can see the likelihood that after the Manhattan Project that they went straight on to try and find out if they can make it do something useful. This is published here. So there's a couple of points in here that don't quite come out of the papers that are presented around this time. Dr. Bostic's studies further suggest that all matter first made its appearance in the form of hydrogen ions, namely protons, fundamental particles of matter carrying a unit of positive electricity, accompanied by electrons, fundamental units carrying an equal unit of negative electrical charge. Dr. Bostic's investigations indicate, he said, that the repelling force is magnetic in origin. The miniature galaxies are formed by using a plasma gun, a device designed by Dr. Bostic. The gun, about the size of an eraser at the end of a lead pencil, consists of 2 tiny wires embedded in a ceramic base, with the ends of the wires flush with the face of the base. An electric arc is formed between the ends of the wires by forcing through them in 1/2 millionth of a second an electric current as high as 10,000 amperes. The wires of the special composition are made of titanium metal with heavy hydrogen gas, deuterium, absorbed or occluded in it. Occluded is interesting. This is the word that was used by Thomas Graham, FRS, in the 1876, I think it was, his paper, when he was looking at the occlusion of hydrogen in metals, and he defined almost the maximum you could occlude in hydrogen absorbing metals in palladium. Due to the tremendous current density in the arc, the tips of the wires are heated to temperatures high enough to vaporize and ionize, electrify both the titanium and the deuterium. Titanium and deuterium ions, particles of matter carrying positive charges, accompanied by electrons, particles carrying negative charges, are hurled from the gun at speeds of 20,000 centimeters a second, equivalent to 450,000 miles per hour. This, it was pointed out, is the highest speed that matter of such density, amounting to a veritable river of atoms, has ever been attained on Earth. Okay, so it then goes on to say, one of the many ramifications of Dr. Bostick's picture of galactic evolution arises out of his belief that gravitational energy generated in the process is transformed into magnetic energy. The accumulation of such energy, he believes, may lead to the formation of an ever-growing magnetic field around a galaxy. As the strength of this field increases, it may give rise to forces that bring about the continuing expansion of the universe. It may be, Dr. Bostick said, that these magnetic fields repel the magnetic fields surrounding other galaxies which are in the process of formation. Thus, for the first time, we can begin to understand the mechanism that brings on the expanding of the well-documented expanding universe. Okay, so I do agree, and I think what you need to do is go to the Kickstarter introduction video on our YouTube channel for the Space Earth Human book that we translated last year of Dr. Alexander Parkhomov, and look at the QR codes for 5 papers that I have in the start of that video if you want to start getting ahead of where I'm going to be going with these presentations. But I think there's some nice intuition going on here, whether it's intuition or it's actually based on hard data. But he's saying his belief that gravitational energy generated in the process is transformed into magnetic energy. Okay, now the reason I'm reading this for Bostick is essentially when John Hutchinson came onto the scene in 1979, Ken Shoulders was brought in because he was an expert in plasma physics and making little plasma things. And why was he asked to do this? Well, what you need to know is that Ken Shoulders said that his starting point for replicating John Hutchinson was the work of Winston Bostick in these plasmoids that he was investigating. And so we have a direct connection between what is claimed is the fusion that goes on in the sun and research done at major US national laboratories and the production of charge clusters and John Hutchinson and the Hutchinson effect. Moreover, if I go here, and I'll just show you, you can get this article on the Times news site, and you can download it. However, moreover, in the Lion reactor, I shared this on the 4th of October 2018. On the surface of the outer part of the reactor, there was a 3-point type galaxy here in between this structure, the cannon that I talked about in one of the videos in this series, and this 2-point structure. And as you can see, the rotation here is this way and we've got a hole, and on this one it's that way and we've got a lump. This is very important. This is telling you what the structure is that's doing this. But this is a 2-arm spiral galaxy, this is a 3-arm spiral galaxy, and then looking further down the core, we have this being a 4-point, and you can go and download the PDFs and look at these in detail. This is a 4-point and this is a 5-point. And here is an image of a couple of the so-called elements that it detected overlaid, and you can see the 5-point nature of it and the what I call the yin-yangs, which I'll come on to later. This is very, very important. The yin-yangs and the Paisley. This is very, very important. What you are seeing here, it's very interesting because I don't think these elements are actually hafnium and ytterbium. What I think is going on here is that the copper has exotic vacuum objects in there, and it's able to, when the electron beam comes in from the scanning electron microscope, and it's supposed to excite the electrons in the copper or the oxygen and make it come back with a characteristic X-ray, or a photon, like some photon that would describe based on the characteristic X-rays of these atoms. It doesn't. It actually reports something else. And in fact, we found that it wasn't even really either of these elements. It was often you find with Lena experiments, it would appear that the software is struggling to determine what element it is. And I believe that is because the exotic vacuum objects are in the material. So this is just a shadow that's caused by the fact that the exotic vacuum objects are stuck here, and they really are stuck. So just like I said with the Hutchinson sample, when the EVU came in and it hit the material, it went and it got stuck there, and it was just sitting there doing its thing. Here, these are kind of basically stuck, and even months later, when we're looking at this in the SEM, it's affecting the electron beam, and so that's a point here. So the other point is that if you think about it, these structures, you had to have some, a lot of funding, a lot of equipment, and to fire these in, and these incredible cameras and so forth, to create all these different structures. So you might look, this is, say, the Ring Nebula in Lyra, and these are kind of like other kind of structures you would see in the heavens if you looked very closely. In the case of the Lion reactor, with what you're seeing here and you're seeing here, there was no plasma guns involved. And these structures that you're seeing here were left as solid evidence in the frozen condensed matter of the reactor afterwards. So now, as a closeout here, I just want to add that around this same time, and this would be fun for people who are interested in this sort of thing, that Winston Bostic had something else to say. Now, I will include all of these links in this video, but this is another site called Plasma Universe, and it actually includes the newspaper clipping I've already read and transcribed, or rather just read to you. But down here, this is actually Winston Bostic here. But down here, at the same time, actually around the same time, it was in the 31st of January 1958, he says this. Space flight motors, he says 2.5 million miles per hour motor described by scientists. New York. Space flight motors reaching speeds of 700 miles a second, 2.5 million miles per hour, were described Wednesday to the American Astronomical Society. They don't exist yet, but they should be possible, said Dr. Winston H. Bostic, professor of physics at Stephen Institute of Technology. They would be plasma motors. In this case, plasma means a cloud of ionized or electrically charged gas. The idea is to use pulses of electric current and magnetism to get the gas particles moving at fantastic speeds. Then they could be shot out of the motor. So it's kind of like talking about an ion drive. So he's almost taking on the learning that he did from this. But I just thought that might be interesting for the people that are to the kind of propulsion side of things. And you can read that in your own time. So in summary, Winston Bostic did this work following the detonation of those things. And the purpose of it at several national laboratories was to produce energy using the hydrogen fusion. He was using deuterium. And when John Hutchinson came onto the scene, Ken Shoulders was brought in to find out how this worked. And he started with the work of Bostic. Now, did the labs that were looking at the work of that were doing the work with Bostic, these four different institutions, had they already observed these kind of effects, which meant that they would be able to say to Ken, hey, look, this is a good starting point for you if you want to investigate what's going on. And so here we've connected low energy nuclear reactions with Bostic, with John Hutchinson, and with the US nuclear fusion program. So thank you very much for your time, and I will see you in the next video.